Hello learners, Namaskar. I am Pragya welcoming you in your YouTube channel English Seeker. Today I will discuss about the second part of the third chapter of First Flight, and the topic or title of the topic is the second part is the black aeroplane. So in this video I will discuss about the author and the summary of the chapter. In the second video, in the part second of this chapter, I will discuss about the narrator, the character sketch of the narrator, and the key points of the chapter, and the most important, the mystery of this chapter. I will disclose the mystery of this chapter, so the second part is also going to be much more important. So the very first, come on today's topic and start a discussion about the author. So the author of this chapter is Frederick Fawcett, who was born in 1938 and he was a British author. He is famous for his thrilling novels like The Day of the Jackal, The Kill List, and The Fox. Many of his novels, based on international events and personalities, have been made into movies. Apart from being a novelist, he has also worked as an RAF pilot, a spy, a political commentator, and a journalist. Fawcett was appointed Commander of the Order of the British Empire in 1997, and this post in short is called CBE. So he was appointed CBE in 1997. If I will talk about the summary of the chapter, so this chapter can be divided into 7 major points. So I will tell you those points as headings which you should mention in your textbook with the help of a pencil, and definitely it will help you much more to understand this chapter clearly. So the very first point may be a clear night, and this heading is just from starting. The moon was. So the moon was coming up in the east behind the narrator, who was flying his old Dakota aeroplane over France back to England. The stars were shining in the clear sky, and there wasn't single cloud. The narrator was happy to be alone high up above the sleeping countryside. He was looking forward to his holiday and being with his family, and he was dreaming of the full English breakfast he would have the next morning. The second heading may be calling Paris control, and it may start, you have to mention this heading when the second stanza has been started, and that is I should call. So its summary. This was 1:30 in the morning when the narrator thought of calling Paris control. He called the control room and gave him coordinates. A voice over the radio gave the narrator instructions on the direction he should take. The narrator followed the instructions and switches over to his second and last fuel tank and turned the Dakota 12 degrees west toward England. He was sure that he would in time for breakfast first with his family. The third heading may be on the same page, and it is just starting. I think third heading will be storm clouds approach, and the heading will start from Paris was about. Okay, so here you have to mention the heading storm clouds approach. So let's see its summary. Paris was about 150 kilometers behind him when the narrator saw the storm clouds. They were huge. They looked like black mountains standing in front of the plane across the sky. He knew he could not fly up and over them, and he did not have enough fuel to fly around them to the north or south. The narrator realized that he should go back, but his need to get home, or you can see his desire to go home for breakfast, made him take a risk. So the next heading may be the risk, and it is going to start from I ought to go back. At page number 37, it is I ought to go back. So here its summary may be the narrator flew the old Dakota straight into the storm. Inside the clouds, everything was suddenly black. It was impossible to see anything outside the aeroplane. The old aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. The compass began turning round and round and round. It was dead. The other instruments were suddenly dead too. The radio was dead too. Paris control couldn't hear him. He has lost in the storm. And the next heading is going to be the rescue, and this heading is going to be start from the page number 38 in the textbook, and from the stanza. Then in the black clouds. So its summary may be done. In the black clouds quite near his aircraft, he saw another aeroplane. It was no lights on its wings, but it was flying next to his aircraft through the storm. He could see the other pilot's face. It was turned towards him. He was very glad to see another person. The other pilot lifted one hand and waved. He understood that the pilot was asking him to follow his aeroplane. So, relieved, he began following the strange black aeroplane. The next point may be out of fuel, and it will start. You have to mention this sighting after half an hour. Okay, in this stanza, the second last line of this page number 38, the heading you have to mention out of fuel. So after half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there in front of his plane in the cloud. Now there was only enough fuel in the old Dakota's last tank to fly for 5 or 10 minutes more. The narrator began to feel anxious again, but then the other aeroplane began its descent. The narrator followed it through the storm. Suddenly he found himself coming out of the clouds, and he could now see two long straight lines of light in front of him. It was a runway, and he was safe. So, and the last heading may be the mystery, and you have to mention this heading at page number 39 when the text is I landed. The third or fourth last stanza of the syllabus. I landed and was not sorry to walk away. So here its a summary. Maybe as he landed, he looked for the other aeroplane so he could thank the other pilot for saving his life, but it had disappeared. So he went and inquired at the control center where he was and who the other pilot was. So the woman at the control center looked at him strangely and then laughed. She said no other planes were flying that night. So his Dakota was the only one she should see, or she could see, on the radar. The narrator wondered who it was in the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights, who had helped him arriving there safely without a compass or a radio and without any more fuel in the tanks. So this was the summary of this chapter. In the next video, I will discuss about the character sketch of the narrator and the key points, and the most important, the mystery, that if there was no one there, so to whom the narrator saw. So this was the mystery which I will break down in my next video. Till then, you should subscribe my channel for getting much more informative videos. Stay connected and stay tuned. Thank you.